All right, hi guys. We are going to watch some videos here. The first one is of my daughter's wedding, cutting the cake. It's about a 6-second video. And so maybe what you can do is you can judge what's happening in your opinion here. Okay, here we go. 6 seconds. Here we go. There we go. That's all it was. And so what's happening here is we we told the bride and groom they needed to cut the cake, the ceremonial cutting of the cake. It's not something they thought about, not something that they planned for, just something we said at the last minute. You got to cut the cake. You got to cut the cake. Well, my daughter was a little bit nervous at this point, and so she was, you can see the anxiousness on her. But that's not the reason why the video went viral. I don't think the main reason. The main reason is because she has pockets and she's using it with her hand. So a lot of people like the pockets and they said, "Oh, pockets are awesome, they're great," or "Wow, pockets!" Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. And then other people were like, "This is just wrong to have pockets in your wedding dress." And that was the main issue that people commented. But then people started commenting on that she looked sad. Some people criticized her hair, saying it didn't look good. Some people said that it wasn't combed. This was actually a request. The hair was a request, this style. But anyway, so, but what's really happening here is she's just nervous. She's trying to do what several people are talking to her and telling her what to do, and she's trying to do it, but it's she's getting nervous and frustrated. And when this video ends, she actually walked over to her mom and put her shoulder on her for just a couple seconds and cried just a little bit because it was just a nerve-wracking thing for her. It was nerves. It wasn't that she's upset or she's not a fun bride or whatever. It was a little awkward at times. The whole wedding, there's little awkward points in the wedding. Other people probably don't have those. Some people don't have those. That's fine. She wanted a simple wedding, and she wanted a few people there. We actually made her beef it up with the people, and as far as you need to invite these people, they're your relatives, and so yeah, she's just nervous in this moment. You can't, but so many people mischaracterized what the situation was because they didn't know the context. They don't know her. They're just making their assumptions and they post it on Facebook. Not Facebook, this one's on Instagram for all to see. And they're wrong. Most of them are wrong. It's a mischaracterization of the truth. She's not sad or she's not a bad bride or she's not going to be no fun. She is just nervous. So there's that, a mischaracterization of my daughter's wedding. Now, I showed you that because I wanted to show you a different video that was also mischaracterized and it became viral on the internet. And that is this one. This is what happened at the Greater Men's Conference in Springfield, put on by James River. Now, there was an accusation that this was sexual, that this was pole dancing, This is a men's conference. Almost everybody in the room is a man. That was a feat of strength. He's just performing here. It's a performance. This is separate from any sort of worship or speaking. He never says a word. This is less than 3 minutes long of a clip. About 3 minutes, depending on where you start the time. He licked the sword. You lick the sword because it needs to be lubricated to go down your throat. I would want to lick the sword as well. He's doing it as a performance, so everything he does is overemphasized. He's just climbing up a pole. Nothing sexual about this. He's climbing the pole. The pole goes all the way up into the rafters. He's not dancing. Just climbing a pole with a sword down his throat. What people are thinking about at this moment is, oh my goodness, what's he gonna do? Now they're thinking, whoa. Some people say he's making the figure of the cross there. He would just slowly move his hand to his side, and then when he stops, he puts his hands out again with the sword just inches off the floor. And of course takes the sword out. And that is the end of the performance. That's all it was. Now, if you had not heard anything about this performance, and you just saw that, and you didn't have it in its proper context, if you hadn't heard anything about it, then probably you're going to watch that and think, wow, that's pretty cool that he was able to do that. When you start adding more context to it and you find out that somebody, before you watched the video, you said somebody criticized it as pole dancing and sexual, and the Jezebel spirit was there because of this act. There was a platform, and they built a platform that's like an altar. They built a platform because they can't drill into the floor of the arena. They have to have it on a platform so that they don't ruin the building. It's a pole. He didn't dance on it. Now, so if this is what we're judging by, because this is what was criticized, you can have opinions about entertainment in the church and saying, we really shouldn't do that. But that's not the problem I have with it. It's the mischaracterization of what was done. It was not pole dancing. It was not sexual in any way. That was the characterization that was put on it. And that is not true. If you want to discuss entertainment in the church, fine. But this is not even handed. For one, this is the only act they talked about. A lot of people mentioned that they took the shirt off. There were other acts on the same day. No one says a word about them with people with their shirts off. I'm sure there's people out there that would have if they had known, but they weren't there, so they can't know that context. It's a real problem when you weren't there. Watching a video is not really enough. It should be helpful. I would think you would watch this video and conclude, okay, I don't know if I'd want this at church. It wasn't at a church. Uh, but I think you're a little far fetched to call it Jezebel. I think it's a little far fetched to call it stripping. I think it's a little far in front of guys. Now, if this was at a women's conference, this exact same show with this guy, okay, maybe I could see the point a little bit more. But I just don't see it here. You can talk about, okay, so there's maybe some homosexuals that are going to be watching it in that room of guys. There probably was somebody in there, but you know what? If they had a problem, it was their problem, not the act's problem. Anyway, there was nothing sexual about the act. That is a mischaracterization and should be treated as such. Okay. If you want to talk about the whole issue of entertainment, that's a different topic, and it should be, especially after this has gone viral. I don't understand how Christians can think that this is a good idea to post these videos. I'm posting a video now, so maybe that's hypocritical, but uh, I'm trying to show the ridiculousness of the accusations, and people think it's a good idea to put their video out and criticize this church. 600 people came forward for salvation. I don't know the exact number, but that's a round figure. What were they thinking? Those new believers thinking when this act was called out? No, don't get me, people misunderstand. This is well before. I believe Mark, the pastor that did the whole calling out part, was in the room, or at least he saw it. He did not call it out at this time. He didn't come up and say he didn't do that. He didn't go over to John Lindell and say, "What are you letting happen here?" He didn't go to John Lindell later and say, "What's happening here? What are you doing?" If he really thought this was wrong, he had several opportunities to stop it early. Even when it was happening, he might have had an opportunity to stop it, but he didn't take that opportunity. He waited until he was at a sermon, at the end of his sermon, to say something. Why not say it at the beginning of the sermon? Why wait until the end? It's not wisdom at the very best. Maybe it was unwise to have this guy. Maybe that is true. I don't know. But that's still not acceptable to have the mischaracterization that happened. And that's what it is. Now, some people say, well, didn't you dig? Didn't you see with all the stuff they dug up about this guy? He's not a Christian. He's Orthodox. He didn't have a good view of salvation. How many new believers do you know that don't really have a good grasp on the theology of salvation? When I listen to him, I question his salvation. I would certainly, I would, I would want to, I would want to express the gospel to him in a clear way. So, and he probably heard it at this event. Maybe could have got saved, but if he had any sort of exposure, if his God consciousness was raised, what has happened to it now after this whole fiasco of calling out the people that had him there? Just doesn't feel very Christian, doesn't feel very godly to me. So I think the two are very similar. There is a wedding where people see a girl that is angry or given the side eye, not respectful, has her hand in her pocket. The truth is that she is shy and nervous in the moment for 6 seconds. And people characterize it as something that it wasn't. And this, people hear about it first, poison the well. They get the well poisoned because people are saying they're giving them an idea what it is. Then they watch the video and they can't get that poison in the well out of their brain. And so they see what they think they ought to see or what they have been told. And it's a mischaracterization, it's a misunderstanding, and it's not good. And then the mischaracterization gets taken and blown up all over. Everybody thinks they got to comment on it. Let me tell you this. If you're watching someone who wasn't there talk about this, then you need to dismiss their whatever point they're making. They weren't there. They weren't in the room. They didn't feel the spirit or the Jezebel spirit. They didn't feel any of it because they weren't there. It's unfair to the people they're criticizing, and it is just not the right way to handle yourself as a Christian, to put out videos criticizing people. Okay, if you were there and you have a point, that's one thing. But when you weren't there and you're just trying to, because it's the thing that's blowing up right now and you think you want your channel to blow up, then that's one thing. But it's just not right, in my opinion. All right, it's late. It's 1:30 a.m. And I didn't really sleep that well last night. So I'm on my chemo. I got my little poison bag that's delivering this stuff that's supposed to kill the cancer in my body. There is no cancer in my body. That's what I believe. They already cut it out. There's nothing in the blood that they found. There's nothing in the scans that they found. So I believe the cancer is gone. But they want to go through the chemotherapy. So we're going to go through the chemotherapy, let my body heal, and get rid of everything that could possibly be bad, pre-cancer or whatever. So anyway, thank you all for watching. You can have grace for me. See, I'm on chemo. You have to be graceful to me and be nice to me and not be mean in the comments. Is anybody going to watch this? I don't know. Probably not. But anyway, there you have it. That's my opinion. That's my take on this. I'm not good at this whole video thing, so this is the first time I've done this, so hopefully it works out all right. All right, God bless y'all. Have a good night. Good morning.